Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. In this video, we are going to discuss the topic respiration. Okay, so as we already have discussed digestion, nutrition, right? So there we have discussed that we get energy from food, correct? So how do we get that energy? So this is the process. Respiration is the process. It is a biochemical process in which what happens? Living beings utilize their food. How do they utilize? They burn the food. Food burns with oxygen to get energy. Okay. So this is the process of respiration, right? So let's say two types of respiration. What are those? One is aerobic respiration, another is anaerobic respiration. So in aerobic respiration, oxygen is required, but in anaerobic, it doesn't require any oxygen. Okay, so anaerobic respiration occurs mainly in higher organism, and oxidation is complete here, and the end product is the carbon dioxide, water and energy, right? Okay, so after the complete oxidation, what happens? One molecule of glucose product produces how many ATP? 38 ATP molecules in total. Okay, and the aerobic respiration occurs in cytoplasm and mitochondria, right? Then let's see anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration doesn't require any oxygen, right? So it occurs in yeast bacteria, in basically lower organisms, right? So here oxidation is incomplete, and the end product is sometimes ethanol, sometimes lactic acid, and along with that carbon dioxide and energy, little bit of energy. Okay, so only two ATP molecules are produced. Can you see the difference? In aerobic respiration there's 38 ATP, and in anaerobic respiration it gives only 2 ATP molecules, correct? So in this anaerobic respiration it occurs in cytoplasm, right? Next, let's say breakdown of glucose. Okay, so glucose, where do we get glucose from? It is from food, right? We have discussed that it is the breaking down of food in the presence of oxygen to get energy, correct? So glycolysis occurs. The breakdown of glucose is also known as glycolysis, correct? So first step is the breaking down of glucose to release energy. It is an anaerobic process and it takes place in cytoplasm. So the first step of respiration is this glycolysis. Okay, it is common for both aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Okay, so here what happens? The glucose molecule converts to pyruvate or pyruvic acid. Glucose is 6 carbon molecule, and pyruvic acid or pyruvate is 3 carbon molecule. Here 2 molecules of pyruvate comes from 1 molecule of glucose. Okay, so after glycolysis what happens? Pyruvate gets converted into different compounds depending on the absence or presence of oxygen, or maybe lack of oxygen sometimes. Okay, so let's say three pathways after formation of pyruvate. First case you can see the absence of oxygen, where it happens in yeast. Okay, in yeast, in the absence of oxygen what happens? Pyruvate converted into ethanol and carbon dioxide. Okay, and a little bit of energy. So here this process is called fermentation, right? So you can see the this reaction over here, right? In next case we have lack of oxygen. If we exercise vigorously for a long time, then what happens? The cell undergo anaerobic respiration because of lack of oxygen. So when our muscle are overworked, blood cannot supply oxygen fast enough, then this aerobic respiration occurs. So the pyruvate what happens? Converted into lactic acid, and this built up of lactic acid in our muscles during this vigorous activities or exercises causes cramps. So that is lactic acid. Okay, so this is the case of lack of oxygen. Then next case is in the presence of oxygen. What happens? The oxidation of pyruvic acid occurs, or pyruvate occurs completely, and it happens in the mitochondria and gives the end product of carbon dioxide, water, and a lot of energy. How much energy? 38 molecules of ATP. Correct? So this aerobic respiration gives the highest energy. Okay. Then let's see overview of cellular respiration. Okay. So this is the example of what aerobic respiration. Okay. In our body, in animal's body. Okay. So what happens? Aerobic respiration occurs in the cell, right? So what is happening here? We get food, right? The food, the nutrition we get, that reach each and every cell. Okay, each cell have mitochondria. So mitochondria is the site of what? Cellular respiration. Okay, so where then what happens? The glucose converts to pyruvate. Okay, that is glycolysis happens. After glycolysis, what happens? That and the Krebs cycle happens. The result of Krebs cycle is NADH and FADH. That NADH and FADH helps in oxidative phosphorylation. Okay, then in total what happens? We get ATP. Okay, ATP, that is our energy currency, and it is stored in mitochondria, right? Okay, so you can see here the reaction C6H12O6 plus 6 molecules of oxygen gives rise to 6 molecules of carbon dioxide and 6 molecules of water, right? So this is the chemical reaction of respiration. Okay, now let's see what is breathing. Okay, here comes the human respiratory part, right? So, breathing is a physical process in which an organism takes in oxygen and gives out carbon dioxide. Simple. So, when we breathe in air, the muscles of the diaphragm contract and move downward, right? You can see that in the picture, and the chest cavity expands. The air enters into the lungs and filled with air, right? Just like a balloon. Okay, then what happens when we breathe out? All the air goes out, right? The muscles of the diaphragm relaxes and that moves upward to its original position, and the chest cavity contracts and air goes out of the lungs. Correct? So this is the whole breathing process. Okay, now let's see the human respiratory system, right? So it has various organs. First starts from nostrils, then nasal cavity, then comes pharynx, then larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, lungs. Then under the lungs there is a diaphragm. Okay, a muscular band which separates the thoracic cavity from abdominal cavity. Okay, and also it helps in breathing. Correct? Okay, now see the parts one by one. First we have nostrils, right? This is the opening into the nasal cavity, the outer opening. Correct? Then what does this nostril do? It is a passage of air into nasal cavity, right? And it traps harmful particles. How? Because it has a mucous membrane inside it, and there are few there are many thin hairs in it, right? Okay, next we have nasal cavity. So nasal cavity is a hollow space in the nose, and it filters warmth and moisture in the air to match the body temperature. Okay. Next we have pharynx. So pharynx lies between the nasal cavity and the larynx, and it forms the common passage for food and air. Okay, so this is a very big problem. If we have a common passage for food and air, then there is a chance that food can enter the windpipe also. So there is a muscular flap called epiglottis, which covers the path, so that the no food can enter the windpipe. Okay, then comes our larynx. So larynx is a cartilaginous and has vocal cords. It is also called voice box or sound box. Okay, next we have trachea. Okay, so trachea is a flexible tube connects the larynx with bronchi, and they have number of cartilaginous rings. And this what is the function of these rings? They prevent the windpipe to from being collapsed. Okay, now let's see bronchi. So bronchi are the paired tubes that enter the lungs. It comes from the it is attached to the trachea, right? So then after bronchi is two parts. Then bronchioles are many branched like structure, branched tubes. Okay, it originates from bronchi to the alveoli. Alveoli is the end point, right? And they are divided into primary, secondary, and tertiary bronchioles. Okay, then we have alveoli. Alveoli are air sacs. They looks like grapes, grapes-like structure, vascularized bag-like structures found at the end of bronchioles. Okay, they are surrounded by a wave of capillaries. You can say that, right? So, site of gaseous exchange it is here. Oxygen oxygen drains into the blood, and the carbon dioxide drains out and comes into the alveoli, right? See this. Okay, we have this lungs. Inside the lungs we have alveoli. Alveoli is the site of gaseous exchange, right? Through the process of diffusion this happens. So in each alveoli there are numerous capillaries surrounded by this. So what happens? The carbon dioxide added blood comes from collected from the body and comes towards this. And what happens? The oxygen which we uh, take in the process of breathing. So that oxygen, what happens, comes out of the alveoli into the blood, and the blood which contains carbon dioxide, that carbon dioxide comes into the alveoli, right? After exchange of gas, means inside the blood vessels, capillaries, what was there before? It was carbon dioxide. And inside the ovule, what was there? Oxygen. So it is exchanged now. So now what is there in alveoli? There is only carbon dioxide, and blood there is oxygen. So the carbon dioxide gets collected in the alveoli. Then what happens? We breathe out. So the air which contains which this carbon dioxide, it gets out of our system like this. Okay, got it? Okay, now what happens? This oxygen mixed in blood that goes to every cell. Okay, and cellular respiration, it successfully gives rise to energy. Okay, breakdown of food. Okay, so let's say human has two lungs, right? This is the next part. Okay, which are these lungs are very soft and cone shaped organs, which are enveloped by double layered membrane, which is called pleura, right? So it is a this lungs are main respiratory organ of the human. Okay, Now let's see the overall respiration involved in this following steps. So first what happened? Breathing. So what did we breathe? The oxygen, right? So we get oxygen from the atmosphere. The oxygen run in our body. Then what happened? The oxygen rich alveolar air the oxygen is oxygen reached the alveoli. Then what happened? Diffusion of gases occurred. Oxygen from alveoli and carbon dioxide from the capillaries outside the alveoli. That exchange occurs. Then what happens? The transport of gases by the blood occurs. Then diffusion of oxygen and carbon dioxide between the blood and tissue happens. Then cellular cellular respiration that utilizes oxygen for the breakdown of glucose, and then it oxidizes to carbon dioxide and water, and then at the end it produces energy. Okay, and this energy is used for various activities, right? Now let's see those oxygen and carbon dioxide which are bind in the blood. So about 97% of the oxygen is transported by RBCs in the blood. Okay, red blood corpuscles. So the remaining 3% is transported in the dissolved state with plasma. Okay, this is only facts. Just remember this. Then oxygen can be bound with hemoglobin to form oxyhemoglobin, right? And now you know what is oxyhemoglobin. Oxygen plus hemoglobin. Okay, then approximately 20 to 25% of the carbon dioxide is transported by RBCs. And then what happens? This to form carbamino hemoglobin, and 70% is carried by bicarbonates, and around 8 to 9% of carbon dioxide is transported in dissolved state through plasma. Okay, got it? So let's see an overview of this respiratory process. Correct. So first, what happened? Air enters through the nose or mouth and then passes through pharynx and larynx. The trachea carries the air down into the bronchi. Then what happened? The bronchi divides into smaller bronchioles. These bronchioles leads to a cluster of alveoli in the lungs. Then in the alveoli, what happened? Oxygen diffuses into bloodstream, and carbon dioxide diffuses out of the bloodstream into the alveoli. Then what happened? That this relaxation occurs. The pushing out of the air from the lungs occurs. Then air exists through the trachea, larynx, and then either of the nose or mouth. So this is the whole process. Okay, so this is the end of the video. Let's meet in the next class. Thanks for watching.